Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of HomeKit Insider. We've got a great show for you this week. This episode, I swear, was never meant to happen. It is the one that the universe decided was just going to be impossible to record. With me, I have Rob Alexander, who is the Principal Product Manager for Matter at Silicon Labs, and he does work with the CSA, serving as the Chair of the Test and Certification Oversight Committee. I got all of the words in. And this is the third time I think we've tried to record this at this point.
Yes, that is right. Yeah. This was the third time's a charm. That's what they say.
I think that's going to be it. I hope so. Because you were traveling, you had a whole product show situation, convention, whatever going on. And then your internet goes out at your offices there. And then we go to record this week, a week later, and my power goes out 30 minutes before we actually go to record. And then I'm trying to run things off of battery packs, and service in my basement was not going to work in a brick house. So we had to wait for the power to return, but we're good. Everything's good now. We're all set. Yeah. So Rob, thank you for joining me for the third time. We have some Matter stuff that we're going to talk about in the second half of the episode that is going to be very good. We should be getting products to people sooner thanks to this new Matter program. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, as usual, we're going to hit the news. Now, this first little bit comes from the Verge podcast, and I believe one of the product managers for Google was talking about the Nest Hub, like this smart display. We already saw Amazon bring out like their Look 8 and 10, I want to say, like their new versions of those. And the reception has already been pretty terrible because they have these massive ads throughout them. And Google has not had a new smart display in years now. And we've been waiting for Apple to maybe play in this arena too. But according to this product manager talking to The Verge, they said the company is definitely committed to smart displays, and they'll have news to share there soon. So I'm pretty excited about that because I really liked the Nest Hub smart display. I don't know if you've ever played with one, Rob, but it's a pretty cool little thing.
Right. Yeah, it's right back there. I use that for my testing and working with products. Yeah, it's a good little display. Yep.
And it's not even new. So I'm very excited. Like, as much kind of, I don't know, the shade I throw at Google for kind of abandoning Nest and what's kind of become of like the Nest brand and the Nest thermostats of kind of like what they were before, I really like the smart displays. So I'm glad that they are going to continue to be doing that.
Yeah.
I think
it sounds like, maybe some of the AI announcements and other things, might have delayed, or they want to push more technology in there. That's certainly been the rumor on the Apple side, right? So hopefully, Google sees another opportunity as well, push more smarts in there. Maybe they saw the bad reaction to Amazon, and they're going to pull back on some things. I don't know. I have no knowledge there, but hopefully this will be good news as they finally launch something that's even better.
For sure. I actually had a couple other quotes from the article that says exactly that. They talk about how the smart display presents itself as an incredible form factor to interact with something like Gemini for home. And if you think the properties of a smart display, a microphone, which means audio, a speaker, audio out, it's got a screen, which complements a voice modularity you can interact with and visualize information. As I see it, where Gemini for home is going and Gemini more broadly, it feels like almost the ultimate form factor to be able to deliver a really great home experience. So that's why we are going to continue to invest in that category. So I think it's going to be awesome. And I agree. It's something that I just wanted for so long because I got the Google one. Same as you, I use it for testing, not nearly probably as verbose as you do, but I really like it. And it's just something that I've been waiting on for so long from Apple. And I think you hit the nail on the head. They're waiting on the AI capabilities to get there to kind of finish that off.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what you like from the hubs and where you put it, right? My big one is I put it one in the kitchen, and I put a lot of timers on those. And I like seeing, the feedback. I like talking to it and interacting with it a little bit easier because you can get that visual, feedback that says, oh yeah, I asked you to do something and you're doing the right thing, right? Versus, when it makes mistakes or something else, it's a lot easier to work with. So yeah, I like them when they actually have a display on them, and I'm hopeful that they'll have something really good coming soon.
Yeah, and I like it for just on the smart home front. Like, I want to be able to see even like a lot of security cameras and things going on. It would be nice to have a dedicated spot. Like when Harrison goes out and plays on the deck or the backyard, anything like that, like we still want to keep an eye on him, right? Like we can look through the windows, but to have like a live feed through any of the cameras that we have pointed out there is really nice. And typically right now I just pull up my iPhone and I set it on a dock in like standby mode essentially and watch my live feeds of him hanging out in the backyard. But I don't want to be using my phone for that. I don't want to be using my Apple TV for that. So it's like the smart display is like a great option for viewing cameras, timers, pulling up recipes. I've said it many times on the podcast how the news recipe section just seems perfect for a smart display. So there's a lot of use cases there, especially in the kitchen. Yeah. I think it might have been today as we record this. It was Thursday or Friday of the week before you're listening to this, but it sounds like Apple might be looking for a replacement for Gian Andrea to lead their AI team. So we could have an even bigger shakeup coming at Apple in their AI department. So we're going to have to see how any of this actually kind of gets to anywhere. I mentioned we might talk about a little bit about the rumors. We probably could have started with this, but this week, like the week people are listening to this, it might be the week for Apple's October announcements. Like there's this whole slate of products that we keep hearing could be coming in October. And my guess is it's going to be a whole bunch of press releases, but we're waiting on that HomePod Mini and that Apple TV. And the HomePod Mini, I think, is just so fascinating to me. I don't know about you, Rob, but I feel like it needs Apple Intelligence. But are they going to launch it before like the next generation version of its assistant is even ready? That's supposed to be for spring. So I've been curious at how they're going to kind of pitch the new HomePod Mini if it does come out this year, or even Apple TV, really.
Yeah, I'm very eager to see what they roll out for intelligence. I think we've all been kind of hoping they have their own spin, their own kind of Apple-ness to it that makes it even more of a joy to interact with and makes it, kind of give it that smarts that helps with the home. I've been I got some upgrades for my home and it feels like it's taken a step backwards. It's very interesting to see how sometimes that language that I used to use doesn't work anymore, and that's really frustrating. I'm really hoping Apple can come in there and be able to like understand that, at least just the language. I know people poo-poo Siri a bunch, but I think it does a decent enough job, and I'm hoping that as they continue to add features, it will just only improve. So very eager to see that if they can put that smarts into those 4K TVs and the HomePod Mini, that'll be really exciting.
If they put the new version of Apple Intelligence into HomePod Mini that allows me to string multiple commands together, I will commit right now to buying at least 5 of those things for this house. Like, I just want to say, open the shades and turn on the lights like it in one command and not wait in between.
Or you make a mistake, right? And you're like, oh, open the shade. No, I want the lights on, right? And they already have processed half the command or whatever else. Yeah, no, that natural language, I'm really hoping we can improve on.
I know, and that's one thing that really annoys me up until this point is like they have that, I don't know what you want to call it, but like the flub correction. They have that built into the phones where you can do that, but they don't have it on the HomePods. So if I'm standing like in my kitchen living room and I say something, I'm like, man, I sure hope my HomePod doesn't answer me because I want my phone to be able to understand me better. So it's such a weird spot that they've been in for a while now where Apple, its virtual assistant is not in parity between its devices. So hopefully maybe this week they'll start to rectify that, and we're gonna get that long-awaited HomePod Mini refresh. I hope. Yeah. Okay. Next thing in the news, we had Sleekpoint Innovations, and if no one knows that name, it's because this is the brand that I like a lot, but they're just very confusing with their branding because they have the overall company is Sleekpoint, and then they have like the Sleekpoint app, I believe, but then they have multiple sub brands under that. So like Air Versa is all of their like air related products, like humidifier, those types of things. And then on the other side, they have ones for like Thorbolt, which is like their locking section. And to me, it's just confusing because it is all the same brands, but they have really good products. Well, now it looks like Air Versa is launching a new smart button, and it's called Qliq, spelled, of course, Qliq. Qliq. It is Apple Home specific, no Matter support here. Connects with Thread, which I like. This is not the first Thread button out there. I actually really like the Wemo Stage, but that early version had so many issues with battery life, which I know both Thread and Matter have since really fixed, because that was a big early problem there with buttons. But that should be not an issue at all there. 3 buttons on it. Each of them has single, double, and long holds. And what is nice is USB-C rechargeable. I really liked, Rob, if you remember like Apple's little metal docks that they had, and I think they discontinued them when they went to USB-C, but they had lightning ones. Third parties make kind of knockoffs with USB-C. I feel like that'd be a cute little spot to put that button, and then it could just perpetually be charged and pull it off, have a little wireless button, Thread to control stuff. But this looks really nice. Like I like this. This looks like a great option.
I am a big fan of buttons, right, and switches and other things that allow you to add to your smart home, so it eases that transition, right? You don't usually have your family or whoever else visits, right? And I remember when we first started using the smart assistants, it's like, no, don't touch the wall switches, don't touch the wall switches, right? Just use the voice assistant. And I managed to train my family, but they didn't like me for that. So having these on the wall, or wherever you need to do that kind of thing, and the feeling is so important, right? The touch, the way that the buttons press, and the touches. And I've had Lutron ones and Hue ones and all sorts of other ones, and I know there's a lot of people who have very strong opinions on those buttons and those feelings, and I think there's haptic feedback in this, and I think that's a really good thing, because you want that button to be basically digital, but it has to have the feel kind of like there's something happening there, right? It's like the mouse clicks that are just an audio sound, really, that gives you that feedback, and otherwise saves the the button from being pressed 1,000 times. And but that's really important as we transition, and I've tried to install enough buttons wherever I can, and so this looks really cool to be able to do this and not have to worry about anyone pressing the wrong thing or turning off the mains power, and just being able to have it where you want it. So that's really exciting.
Were you one of those early homes like I was with like Hue lights where you had to like tape the wall switches so that no one would? There was like memes going around of like, say you're an early adopter of Hue without saying you're an early adopter of Hue, and it's all the
Yep.
wall switches just taped up. I'm like, yep, been there.
I did slightly better than that. I put those magnetic plates over the wall switches, right? But yes, there's a lot of them. And it's funny because people will still, guests and stuff will still pull up the plate and switch the switch and then put it back, despite me trying to prevent that. So yeah, it's a tough one.
I put the I can't remember the name of it now. The Lutron or the Aura. I think the Lutron
Yes,
Aura,
love
right?
those.
Which is amazing, right? The problem is, again, I feel like you might run into this too, is I have so many different buttons throughout the house. Like my wife walks into our bedroom and just throws her arm up like she's gonna, hit the paddle switch, and she sends that little Aura flying across the room. And sometimes she'll walk out and she, without even looking at me, she's like, I hit the button off the wall. I don't know where it went. You'll have to find it later. And I'm like, okay. Just like buried, went into the bed, rolled under something. Yeah. So muscle memory kicks in when you walk in sometimes, and you just, go to hit the switch and you just throw that little thing off, even when I tighten it down. But it's a really great way to control those Hue lights.
Yep.
I'm glad that we're getting another button, and I'm glad that it's Thread versus
Yes.
Bluetooth. So like that's a very nice thing about this too.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
from what we've seen, that Thread just has a really good range and a really good battery life. Wi-Fi is so common, but Thread is just so much more 10x the power efficiency. So you can put in coin cells and they last a really long time.
I'm really curious at how Thread is going to expand, like especially like outside. We started to get like a couple little Thread outside devices, and to me, I get really excited by that because there's like those spots where I could have like I think I bugged Jimmy Choo at Nanoleaf about this. I'm like, you got like little garden lights. I feel like that would be really cool to have solar powered lights with Thread. Like it's so low power, you should be able to get enough through solar to be able to do that and extend that out. And I'm starting to get a couple. The Eve Aqua has the Thread in there, which as long as something is close by, it's not a border router because it's battery powered. But I feel like that would be great with some of those garden lights and some other outdoor accessories. And if we can do them with solar, that would be really nice. So I'm hoping that's going to keep evolving.
Yeah, I mean, this is the next big challenge. I think is end of yard is what I've been calling it. Like I've got so many other devices, little point watering solutions. It's so much easier to do timers effectively on your smartphone than on these like crude digital displays or whatever else. And you could think of a whole dozen of these use cases out in the yard. If we can somehow extend the range through the Thread mesh or something to reach all those devices, I think people would install so many more. I mean, people talk about the mailbox sensors and stuff. So when your mail's there, all of those are great cases. It's just it's going to be beyond most of your Wi-Fi. So if we can solve that, definitely it'd be a great possibility for more devices.
I know. I think the one use case, because now we're going down this whole Thread rabbit hole, is like the garden sensors. I want like the garden sensors that are going to, show up in the home app, can tell me if I need to water and like basic things like that. Whether they can create that automation of triggering my watering system to water based on it being wet, or me just getting an alert that I need to go out there and do it. Because we've got those gardens, and that would be really, really helpful. And like Thread, again, perfect way for those things to connect if we can get anything outside. I think the Aqara G5 Pro might be a Thread border router because it's an outdoor rated camera hub situation. So that might be a good one. I couldn't get my mailbox to work last time because I didn't have a strong enough range out there. But I do have that G5 Pro. Maybe I need to go put another Thread sensor on my mailbox and see if it actually works now.
That would be really cool. Yeah. I mean, the other, once you have the sensors and once you have some of that control, you get nice automations. You have the reverse, which is don't water if it just rained, right?
Yeah.
All sorts of great use cases there.
For sure. You know what? Let's take a quick beat and thank the sponsor for this episode. It is Function. I chose Function months ago because I wanted to kind of take control of my own health. I talk about all the different ways that we, collect data about our homes, and I, for a long time, have kept really tabs on my health. I monitor it in so many ways that I can with IoT devices, whether it's the smart scales, Apple Watch, glucose monitors, all of these different things. But you can only collect kind of so many metrics, and I wanted to go further. I always have problems with healthcare stuff in general as a type 1 diabetic. Just getting appointments seems like it has gotten harder and harder. My wife, she's trying to book appointments that are like months out to get into anyone. And you often need those doctors to get you a lab test or anything to begin with. And you have to wait for their follow-ups and only what they're going to want to put in for you and what insurance things will cover. It's a whole hassle. That is why I chose Function Health, because it allowed me just to find out everything that I wanted to be able to find out. So I signed up, scheduled an appointment literally the next day, got my first blood draw in, and then within a few days, I started seeing results trickle in to the Function Health app and their website. I started seeing my actual values for like 100 or so different biomarkers that Function, test for. You start to see your results come in, and then it gives you plain English why this is what it is and what it means. You don't just get like a vague thing in my chart that says, this may be high. Like I don't know what that means, and I'm turning like ChatGPT or Google to try to figure out what any of this is actually doing. I love that Function Health just tells you in plain English what this means and what, like, maybe this is why you're fatigued. Maybe this is why you're tired or whatever. Those are the same thing. I don't know why I repeated it twice, but it gives you that actual feedback on what these things mean for your health. And I love that. On top of that, once you get all your results back, you'll get like an actual doctor synopsis of everything and some action items that you can take for your health to start to feel better. I love that too, because Function isn't selling you like supplements. Like they're not saying, hey, your iron's really low, you should buy this Function branded iron Like, no, you don't have to do any of that. You just get the result, and then you can go and take whatever action that is, whether it is taking a supplement or it is seeing a doctor about a potential issue that you notice in these results. And I love that. It's giving you the power to make those decisions and take those actions. I love all of that stuff about it. And over time, it's really cool too, because you can repeat these tests over periods of time and see how they have changed. You can see how your levels have increased, gotten better, or gotten worse, depending on what changes or actions that you have made in your life. It's really cool. I know one of my best friends, they just signed up for it. She's already gotten results back. She did the blood test like a week ago, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's so cool to see how some of my values have actually increased or gotten better from when my doctor did them like months ago. So like, she is all on board. It's just really cool to see her experiencing it and feeling better about her health and seeing things actually improve in numbers. So yeah, I tried it. If you want to try it too, you can. You can learn more and join using my link. The function is a near 360 view to see what's happening in your body. And my first 1,000 listeners get a $100 credit towards their membership. Visit www.functionhealth.com/HomeKit or use gift code HomeKit100 at sign up to own your health. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the big news. The reason that you came to hang out today, other than just talking about fun smart home things. Matter has a new certification program that they've just launched. Tell us a little bit about it and what this is going to mean.
Yeah, so this was something we've been working on for quite a while. It's been a kind of passion of mine. Matter compliant platform. It's really meant to speed up developers and product makers so they can just buy and integrate an off the shelf Matter component, either from their chipset vendor. They can go to third parties or whatever else that build them a component, and they can integrate it into their device. It kind of parallels some of the ideas that Apple had with the HomeKit enabled chips way back when. Now they have the software component, but really it's like, yeah, we want you to be able to make this easier. So just go and buy this. The challenge is that you have to have enough providers of that technology, and then it's, they'll make it cheap because they'll compete, and they'll just generally want to, it'll be a good enabler for product vendors. So I think that's what we're really trying to accomplish with this. We're an open standard, open source, so you can build, you can have a company like Silicon Labs, they can build you a Matter compliant platform, and then you can take that and more easily adapt it. And the way it works is, we'll be doing the things like the Bluetooth and how to enable that while at the same time talking Thread or Wi-Fi, and also deal with a lot of the low-level hardware stuff, how to deal with encryption keys and the security and all that, the commissioning. And you as a product maker just get to kind of enable the stuff you really care about, which is like, okay, what happens when I get a signal to turn the fan on? Or what happens when I get a signal to start the cycle for the appliance or whatever else? That is what they really care about. All the other stuff is like, they kind of expect it. So that's, what we're doing with this compliant platform. And with that, you can we will test the lion's share of the Matter stuff and make sure that works. We can test against the ecosystems and make sure, it functions as you'd expect it. And then they can pick it up and connect it to the actual hardware that, people actually want to activate or, monitor or whatever else. So it's a really great program, just launched, this past October, the beginning. And, we ended up certifying one of our chips. A whole bunch of other companies certified their stuff. So this is, already you've got a number of different platform vendors out of the gate.
That is pretty awesome. This is going to be really beneficial, especially as like new categories and stuff get announced. It's going to make it so much easier just to hit the ground running. Tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll talk more about the program. How long have you been with Silicon Labs, and as well as involved with the CSA and everything?
Oh boy. So I've been with Silicon Labs since 2006. I was part of a startup that they acquired. It was Ember back, when Ember was just doing Zigbee. And so I actually joined what was the Zigbee Alliance in 2006. So I've been with Zigbee and the connectivity, which later became the Connectivity Standards Alliance, for a very long time. Was part of the group that went off and helped work on Thread. IoT has been always so much fun to work on. When I've been working in engineering, I was working on things with gigabytes of RAM and flash, and I joined this company, and they're like, yeah, we have like less than a megabyte. So it was just so much fun to work on challenges like that. And really we get to see all these different products and people with ideas. We are just ultimately enabling sort of the technology, and they come to us and say, well, I'd really like it to do this or that. And it's been great to work with them, on their products and figure out how to enable them, either if it's low power or if it's range or if it's compatibility. It's been a fun time. I've worked on Zigbee and Z-Wave and Bluetooth, so many years of this, and I love IoT too, which has been the fun part of it. Bring it in my home and say, oh, I actually helped work on this. In a way, I didn't build the products, but we ultimately build some of the chips that go into those products. So it's been a passion of mine and fun times to see this industry evolve over the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. So this new program, do you see, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be beneficial to everyone across the board, but do you think this is going to be more helpful for new companies that are coming in that don't have as much experience in the connected home side of things? Or is this really just to help push existing companies that are doing this faster? Because I'm thinking of things like water heaters, and it's like, how much do they know about, connected home IoT? Like, I know there are a couple of them out there, but by and large, it's never been really a connected device. And I know, like you said, member driven. So there's, companies that are saying they want to do this. So there's definitely gonna be ones doing it. But is this program going to help kind of like those newer companies who are moving into smart home? Or is it more of like moving existing companies faster?
I think it's going to do a little bit of both, but I think it's more targeted for the companies that are really focused on stepping into smart home and being a little bit intimidated by it. And they are definitely maybe familiar a little bit with some of the connectivity technologies like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. But Matter tends to have at least both of those, or it has Thread and it has a number of these certifications and whatever else to make it happen. And so that can be a little, intimidating and don't know where to start and how to make sure everything's functional. So we're really trying to, get more product vendors into, this and adding it into their existing product lines. I keep, one of the first internet connected things was a coffee maker, and I still don't have an internet connected coffee maker today that I can just buy off the shelf. I was like, I want that, right? Setting a simple program, a schedule, or being able to trigger it, from while I'm laying in bed and stuff like that. That's kind of what I want to see, and I'd love to enable those guys. And I think especially some of the smaller device classes, the less expensive budget models, I'd love to see them come in and say, yeah, you just have it now. If you want to have an internet enabled thing, here you go. So that's what we're really hoping to enable, because I've worked with a lot of the same companies for many years, and some of these guys, they build their own radios, right? That's what they used to do. And we want to get well away from that. It's like, no, just buy off-the-shelf stuff and bring it in and build a product.
Nice. It's funny that you mentioned like the coffee maker, because that's like the lore of Apple Home, because of that one interview Tim Cook did, right? Where he was like, oh yeah, I wake up every morning and have my HomeKit coffee maker turn on. And it's like, wait, what? That's not a thing. So everyone's always speculated on what coffee maker he uses. And it's funny because like when I was trying to do a video on how to like do that, I struggled to even find like a dumb enough coffee maker that could actually do that. Like they all try to make them a little bit smart with like it looks like a watch face, on the front where you can kind of schedule it. But I literally wanted to come on and off with power. And it was a little bit hard to actually track one down that could do that with a big old physical button on the top that you could just leave it on and schedule it with that. So yeah, it would, like a coffee maker would be fantastic. I want to sit there and just say, to make my coffee, and it just, dispenses the beans, grinds them and brews it, and I'm good to go. Time it with my alarm or automations. Like, how is that still not a thing yet with Matter, Apple Home, anything?
Yeah. I mean, that's my big use case. Anything with a schedule that you want to set. That's obviously the thermostats have done that for a long time, but coffee makers have a schedule. Some of the maybe you have a pool pump or a jacuzzi or something really nice like that. But you could have a lot of things that just like lights also being the obvious one, where like I want them to come at dusk, or I want them to come on early in the morning when I'm up, right? But I don't want them to waste power when I'm not up. All those things. That's what I want to enable more and more of, because I think that just brings such a basic understandable quality of life, as things come on when I want them to.
Yeah. So when a company is using one of these Matter certified chips in their device, what does testing look like then after the fact? So like that's already kind of like certified from the Matter front, but I still assume there has to be some level of testing going on before a device kind of makes it out. How has that changed with this program?
Yeah, so we've got two elements of it. One is the initial certification, and one is the recertification. Both are very important. The initial one, we do a lot of heavy lifting to verify the basic connectivity. But as a product maker, we'll still need to do some testing to of the higher layer pieces of the, hey, I want to. This is an appliance, it has a mode, and I want to verify that it enables the mode correctly. So that will be on the product maker to make sure that it's tested. But most of the other testing that happens that is very basic and very comprehensive at the Connectivity Standards Alliance, we can handle at the platform layer, and they can inherit that. So that's the first element for the initial certification. On the recertifications, we have a similar thing. We want Matter's moving fast. The open source repo is full of people donating their time and efforts to making the code better. And we are fixing bugs. And for better or worse, we are having security, issues that are being brought up that, we want to fix, and we want to have companies incorporate them as fast as they can, right? We don't want people to hold them back because of certification. So the goal is to say, as the, core platform, we know security. We know when there's bugs in those security libraries or whatever else, and we can make those updates quickly, and you can just put them in and then roll out without doing additional testing of the product if it's a really small fix like that. So that's the other big element that we're hoping to ease people as they maintain these products. That's been kind of one of the concerns is I have a IoT product and it's not updated for years. Does it have security issues? With open source, with platforms, we're hoping that, that will not be the impediment for product makers to make those updates.
Love it. We were cleaning out the basement. I found a box of like all of these Apple home devices that I have that I've never even used. I'm like, it's crazy. Some of these things are like 10 years old, and I could just set them up and use them with Apple Home and just continue rolling them out like that. How does that work with I think it's an additional certification that the CSA does, but that the platform cross compatibility lab, because I from my remembrance, like that was an extra spot that they did, and then if they did that, that is what would also give them like the Apple Home certification on top of that. So is that still an additional layer that they do after everything else?
Yes, absolutely. And so the idea here is we know that a lot of users still know those brands. The works with Apple Home and all the works with Alexa, all those brands, they still know them. And this is again about transitions. We don't want to confuse users. So if they know those brands, they're going to look for them. And the reality is, though, we want to make it still easy for a product maker. And so, but at its core, if they implement Matter, they can basically, through this small exercise, apply to be part of all those brands and get those badges, which is, ultimately, we're turning that from what was a technology lift where, I had to understand each of these programs, I had to know how to implement them correctly, to a marketing thing where they implement Matter, that's 90% of what they need. And after that, if they want to put marketing logos on because people know those logos, they can go through what's called the Connectivity Standards Alliance Interop Lab. The Interop Lab does a little bit of extra testing. This is with really the real, ecosystems, your actual HomePod minis and all the other devices, and verifying that it will actually work. Because there's always little rough edges here and there between, what the spec says and how it really works. And we don't want to we don't want users to have a bad experience and say, well, why does this not work? So you can go through that, send your product through, and from there you can get all those badges, and that's a one-time effort. The nice thing about it is Connectivity Standards Alliance doesn't charge for that, so the product vendors can make use of that in order to get to market faster. And again, the hope is, though, eventually enough people know Matter such that Matter becomes the main thing they look for, and that we don't have to worry about that. Because if we keep it like that forever, where everyone just knows the works withs, I don't think we do everyone I think we do everyone a disservice because they'll think that these things don't work together, when the reality is they all really function seamlessly because of Matter as the core technology.
Yeah, not to mention just the growing number of logos that need to be plastered over the side of a box. It's like every year there's more companies just getting in on the mix.
Yeah. And we want more ecosystems too, right? Competition's good. Yeah. People come up with other ideas. And yeah, that we can't be NASCARing the boxes to death.
I love it. Just NASCARing the boxes. Perfect. Okay. You're on the inside. No one else is listening. What do you know about 1.5, right? Like, this is supposed to be coming out sometime this year. I promise nobody is listening right now. It's just you and me, your Google Home display back there. What have you heard so far?
Oh, they're always listening. That's the problem these days. We're always podcasting. We have smart assistants all over the place. Yeah, so it is tough to talk about things. So we definitely changed gears. Matter used to do a pretty good cadence of a major release every year. 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Definitely, had some other updates. They had a 1.4.1 and then a 1.4.2 this year. I'm still hopeful we're going to get out something even better than, small releases this year. There's been a lot of talk about different categories that, we want to accomplish. I mean, the good thing is with every one of these releases, we've been, slowly growing it. Matter 1.0 had about 40 devices. And over the years up to Matter 1.4.2, we're up to like 62 device classes, and there's some sub device classes in there as well. Matter 1.5, I'm really looking forward to it myself. Can't talk too much about it just yet. Would really love to. Happy to come back later too and chat it up. But I think there's some key device classes that have already been talked about externally. And just those are the ones we really want to unify, right? And make sure that they're got some really great use cases, and they may come in Matter 1.5, they may come later, but hopefully we'll get some big news soon here, and I'll be happy to speak more of it later. So that's all I can say.
Of course, you guys are always so cagey with it. We're getting close. Like, I know they kept hinting that it would be by the end of the year, and we've only got 2.5 months left in this year. And I'm like, they can't be rolling this out right before like the holidays, because that would just be crazy timing. And I guess from the consumer point of view, it takes such a long time, right? Like, but when the new update to the standard is announced, then that means like companies can start, using it. Obviously they can be doing it ahead of that if they're working on the spec, but generally they start kind of being able to have that final version of the spec. Then you got to wait for those products to get fully finished, design out to market. And we could be looking at a year from the time that spec is announced to time product is actually available to purchase. Hopefully, at least at a minimum, the new program should help expedite that stuff, to get some of these things out quicker. Because I'm excited for cameras, but the skeptic in me thinks like, wow, by the time that it gets announced, it's going to be a whole year after that before we see anything actually doing that. So I hope things will move along quicker. Hopefully 1.5 comes soon, some fun stuff in there, and then maybe we'll get lucky. We'll see just some vague announcements at CES or something of people pledging support for late 2026 products with Matter support in there. So yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. The thing I tell people is Matter's less than 3 years old. I know it never comes fast enough with technology. We always want it, as soon as possible. I totally get that, 'cause I'm there too. But Matter's still pretty young and is moving pretty darn fast as a standard. And I'm really eager to see cameras, right? Because that is one of those things that they're all tied to ecosystems, and we need to break that apart. That's absolutely, there's all sorts of cool use cases if we can do that. And cameras are one of the more complex products to get right, and so hopefully we can make sure that there's enough functionality and really good stuff there before we can put it out there for everyone to use. But I'm very eager to see that one, because I want to see, like we talked about, the video of my kid playing in the yard up on my Home Assistant while I make dinner. Right, I don't want to have to keep jerking over my head to walk over to see. Maybe I want to be able to to start the grill and preheat the grill, and then go sit in the couch and watch something, and then it pops up on the TV when it's done. Right? There's so much good stuff that could be coming, and I think we'll get there soon.
I love that. Even just on this chip level, I'm just so excited for it, because even right now I have like multiple people that I'm supposed to be getting back to go fix things, and I'm pretty sure the singular issue is like the 2.4 versus 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi situation. Like, that is still plaguing people. Like, I know people who just got a robotic vacuum cleaner and they've had it for like more than a week now, and they can't set it up because they can't get it to connect to their Wi-Fi. And I have a Traeger grill right now, which I love, and for some reason it just like it fell off our network and it cannot play nice again. And I'm like, why are you giving me issues now? I'm like, all these things could be solved by that, one Matter certified chip that just works with all of those standards across the board, works with Matter, makes things faster, certification goes easier. I'm excited for it. This should be a big deal, I think, and actually getting devices out. I know the news probably sounds boring to a lot of people, of like, oh, cool, just a new certification program. But I think this will be big.
Yep, we got to build the foundations first, and this one's a big one. So look for more devices to be coming, making use of this, I think, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob. This has been great. We made it through the episode without nary a Wi-Fi or power issue. I had a toddler run in here and yell at me, but that was the only thing that caused us interruption. So, other than that, this was great. Thank you so much for joining. Anything you want to leave us with?
No, thank you, Andrew. This has been a blast. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. Everybody, you can watch the video version of the podcast over at youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. You can go ahead and leave the podcast a 5, 10, 100-star rating on your podcast player of choice. And if you have any questions for me for the next episode, you can reach out on Twitter at Andrew_OSU. Send me an email at Andrew@appleinsider.com, or just throw it up on the YouTube video. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next episode.